Welcome back to the Passion to Paycheck Podcast. On today's episode, we have Jackie. Hey, Jackie, how's everything going?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks
for having me.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. So to get started, go ahead and let the audience know a little bit about yourself and what you're currently working on.
Okay, so Jackie Coster, owner and founder of Key Staffing and Consulting. As far as what we're working on, just growing our business, really. So putting in new lines of business. Obviously there's typical staffing, so we help people find jobs. We help our clients find people. But for us, I think we're working on going beyond that.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of initiative that we have for this year. And then I think personally, just, I have my own goals and what I want to do, and your typical lose weight, get healthy, that kind of stuff. But I think I'm working on my mind and, my mind health and how to have like the best mindset to grow my business, and not only that, but be a great leader to the people that are in my business.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah.
For sure. The mindset, for sure. Because once you can have that on point, I think everything else becomes a lot easier.
It's a crazy thing, man, like how it works, right?
Yeah.
So I think before you hear all this like manifesting and stuff, and you're like, oh, that's kind of hippie stuff, But I'll tell you, man, that stuff's real.
It's real, yeah.
Especially when you hang out with Anna.
Man. She's actually my coach, and so she's been amazing for me this year, and I've actually just worked with her for 3 months, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. It's so crazy. I think for me, one thing I implemented this year, and it's the longest I've ever done it, is the whole journaling thing, right? And so every single morning I wake up, I do my morning prayer, I do my journaling, I do my thank yous, my intentions, my affirmation, right? And so, and then I write down my prayer for the day. And it's been such a game changer, and then
in every aspect of life.
Oh, absolutely. I from business to family to my husband to my kids to everything. And so it really is such a crazy thing how it all works.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never done the journaling, but I've thought about implementing it just to kind of get thoughts out.
Yeah.
Do you find when you're journaling, it kind of helps you take a step back behind everything and kind of look and like, okay, I can analyze things differently?
Yeah, I think for me, it's like it gives a big picture view, right? It's like a completely different perspective every day, because when you go about your day, like you're so in the weeds, you're so grind and hustle and what's next and who do I need to meet and who do I need to talk to? And, I get up in the morning, get up before any of my family does. I get ready, and I just sit there. I get my book out and I just write. And I'm like, from here, right, like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be in 90 days, in 120 days, in a year? And I just reflect on that. And it's
so when you journal more on reflecting on that stuff instead of what happened throughout the day, because you say you do it in the morning, right?
Morning and evening.
Oh, morning and evening. Yeah. Okay.
So morning, it kind of sets my day up.
Okay.
And then at night, I come in and I just brain dump. I'm like, it either says what a shit day, or thank you for this, or hey, this happened. And I mean, I literally just write about my day,
right?
And I get it out. And what I found is that it actually helps me sleep.
You just let it go.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, good or bad, you say thank you. You let it go.
Yeah. Actually, Anna Maria taught me one thing too, is sometimes even throughout the day, right? If your mind's just racing, you can't stop. Literally brain dump, rip it out, crumble it up, and throw it away.
That's
let
funny.
it go.
Because I've done that randomly times where I just start writing and I don't know why I'm doing it, and I'm like, I feel better after, and I don't know why.
I'm
like, what the heck?
Yeah,
and that's
sometimes your mind can't stop. You just like keep going.
Yeah.
Like, man, like I gotta
Especially
stop
when you're running your own business. I mean, you go to sleep working, you wake up working.
Yeah.
That's how you think about it. It's like your baby. You're like, I gotta keep this baby pumping, making sure there's money coming in. I need to make sure I have this, bathroom, that, all the little things that a lot of people don't really see too, especially with the staffing business, because that's a whole nother different kind of industry, because you're dealing with outside. You're pretty much a third party for the employers, right?
Yeah. So I think any service business is tough, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're trying to please everybody. And what do you always hear? You're not going to please everyone, right? And so just being a service-based industry is really hard. But being a people service-based industry is a whole nother ballgame.
Oh, I bet.
You know, and so, because we're dealing with the clients that want certain things, the candidates that want certain things, and everything in between when it comes to employment, right? And so, which is obviously already really hard in California.
Right.
And so it's just, it really is such a different beast. I always tell people, like, if you can get through retail, restaurant, or staffing, man, you can do anything.
Right?
Right? Like, it's just those
like
three things. Oh, yeah. But it's, I mean, we could sit here for hours and go over the staffing industry and everything that goes into it. But yeah, it really is just, it's such a people game.
And how long you been doing staffing now?
A little over 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
nice.
a little bit.
Yeah. So I still have a lot to learn.
Oh yeah. What
You
did
never stop learning.
Yeah. What got you into the staffing? Because that's a kind of a different industry to kind of pick and kind of, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, actually, I didn't pick it. I was chosen.
Oh, okay.
And so, just like we headhunt, right? Somebody headhunted me, and actually, my first staffing gig was I only worked for one other agency, and they recruited me. I actually started in retail. And so there you go, the retail thing, right? So I started in retail as a cashier. I was making $8 an hour. You know, I worked my way up through there, and I'm actually helped manage the Dick's Sporting Goods here in Bakersfield. And then that's actually where I met my husband.
Okay, nice.
And so I was like, all right, well, if this is going to get serious, you know, like I'm going to find another job. And so I started looking, and I had this agency reach out. I actually had a couple of them reach out. And I just told him I'm not going to leave my full-time job for a temp gig, right? So nobody likes to do that.
Right.
People do it. I see it all the time. And people are willing to take that risk. But I was a single mom at the time. And so I had to have the steady income. I had to have what I was making. I had to have the insurance, the everything, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't do these, you know, temp to hire, right? Because what if I don't get hired?
Right.
And so I was then contacted by another one, and I was just like, hey, like, this isn't for me. I don't actually know how this works. I don't know what this is. I've never heard of this industry before. I can't go be a temp. So, you know, I appreciate it, but no thanks. And they were like, no, this is like to actually work for us in-house. I was like, oh, okay. And so my first gig actually was managing an on-site for them, where they had over 300 employees at that one location.
Wow.
Oh, dang.
And so I was managing the whole team. I managed our staff that managed the 300 temps. And that's kind of how I got into it. Someone was like, I found your resume on Indeed, which now I understand because we do it, you know? So I'm like, how do you find my resume on Indeed? You know, I didn't even apply. And so that's kind of how I got into it. But it's crazy. You ask anybody in the staffing industry and they'll tell you, I didn't pick this industry. Like, someone picked me. You know,
That's kind of how it works for that industry then.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, who grows up and says like, I want to be a recruiter?
Right.
You know, like nobody says that.
I've never heard nobody say that.
So when you first started like into the staffing, did you buy another company or did you just start your own?
No, I founded this company.
Oh, okay.
Ground up.
From the ground up.
Funded it, built it. I mean, cried over it.
Right. That's usually how it goes. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, man, it's been a journey. It's been very, very cool, but very, very difficult. I mean, by far the hardest thing I've ever done.
Well, I can only imagine. And then I'm sure, especially when you're starting, that was probably where there's many obstacles.
Totally.
And as far as when you started and the obstacles at the beginning, what would you say were one of the biggest hurdles you had to overcome getting into staffing?
Yeah, I think for me, I had always had a track record of being able to build, right? So like I could sell, I could bring in clients, I could do all that. But I had never actually ran and owned a business. And so just knowing the ins and outs of that is, I think, the biggest hurdle, right? Is what can I do? What can't I do? Who should I hire? When should I hire them? From an accountant to a bookkeeper to my first staff person, right? So it's like, you don't know all that. Like the famous, you don't know what you don't know, right? But for a long time, I really kicked myself in, because I was like, man, I should have known more. I should have known more. I should have known more. Basically, it was trial and error for me.
Right. And
so, you don't know something until you get in trouble for not doing that something. And then you're like, damn, like now I got to do that thing. And so as simple as, how many employees you have to hit, and now you have to offer all these things because you're considered an applicable large employer at that point, right? So it's like hitting those milestones and then all the stuff that comes with that. And you don't know that till somebody tells you, or till somebody's like, hey, you're supposed to be doing this. And so when I really hit my first roadblock like that, I was like, I can't do that anymore, right? Like I have to educate, I have to train, I have to do all those things. So I started taking a bunch of business courses and just reaching out to experts and even owners in the staffing industry, like, hey, when you hit this milestone, like what are the things that you put into play? And so I got a lot of that information and I did that pretty early on. So when I hit the next milestones, I have that like small playbook that I need, because we can get in a lot of trouble because.
Oh yeah. Especially California. Yeah. California is big with laws.
And we're employment, right? And so like there's so many things that go into it. And I think that's one thing that people don't really understand about our industry is every law that I would say a normal employer has to follow, we have to follow that too, but honestly on steroids because we have to protect us and we have to protect our client. And so we have to be on it, and so
you got to make two people happy at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And the government.
Three people.
And so it was very difficult, but I would say early on my biggest challenge was just, did I know everything I needed to know at that time? Probably not. And I had to learn a few things a little bit the hard way. I had to catch up on some things. I had, so it was just a lot of not knowing exactly what needed to be done when it needed to be done.
And I think that's normal. I mean, I put myself in those shoes too. Like there's some stuff, but a lot of stuff you learn as you go. Not till you get to the roadblock, you be like, you either ask or you're like, man, now I gotta start doing this, or you hit that roadblock and you ask people, hey, well, you need to contact so and so or do this, and and I think that's kind of as you grow, you're always gonna hit those roadblocks.
And when you're starting, right, like you don't have all the funds, you don't have an abundance of anything, right? So it's like I'm gonna go pay a lawyer $600 an hour to tell me what I gotta do. You know what I mean? It's like that's not feasible. And so I think it's just things like that, right? It's like, do I really know everything I need to know? And like every startup, the answer is no.
Yeah, just starting.
Yeah, and
then you'll figure it out. As most entrepreneurs we've talked to usually don't know what they're doing when they start, and then they end up figuring it out.
You're good at something, and so you think you can do it, and then there's all this other stuff behind that you just don't know.
And you never stop learning too.
Totally. I take courses and stuff all the time. I go to seminars to learn, and I pay thousands of dollars to go sit in classes of, whether it's finance or leadership or people or it's like I'm still doing those things too.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So for your business, when you have competitors, because there's obviously other companies here, what's something you kind of try to do to stand out apart from them? Yeah,
so I could sit here and say all the typical things, right? Service, all that. And I will tell you that our service is pretty top notch. We do surveys with our clients every year, and that's one thing that I don't think we can be beat is communication, transparency, honesty, right? Like that really
goes a long way.
Yeah, that really is something that sets us apart. I mean, at the end of last year, we just did a whole survey with our clients, and communication was literally on everyone's, thing that they loved about us. And so I think that is super, super important in our industry, to the point that like we have a 1 hour rule. Like a client sends an email, they better have a response within the hour. And so it's like we try not to let things drag out. Does that mean we're 100% perfect? No. Do we get it 99% of the time? Yeah, we do. And so I think that's one thing that kind of sets us apart. Another thing is we invest in our clients too. And so one thing we've rolled out is the client success program. We see our clients every week or every other week, or at least once a month. We're touching base, we're emailing, we're texting, we're calling, we're doing all of those things, right? But for us, we're also building like a full program to kind of make sure that they're successful as well, even outside of their people. But the people is really the piece, right? Is like, how can we help you with your people? Is there trainings that you want your people to come in? Because we have a whole slew of training that we can come in, pay them 30 minutes. It's a quick, it doesn't matter if it's a communication class, it's a leadership class, it's a how to write a proper email. You know what I mean? It's like, there's so many little things that get missed that people don't think about until something happens and now there's an issue and now they want to think about that stuff, right? So, even the California mandated sexual harassment training, like, so those are things that we're starting to offer our clients now that nobody is offering.
Oh, nice. More value.
Yeah. And so we'll come in and we'll do a training for your people. You don't have to pay for that training, but you have to pay your people to take the training. Right. So we want to provide that to you, because the better your in-house staff is, the more likely those temps are going to stay. And so that's kind of where we're coming from, is because, man, it's hard to recruit. We don't want to keep replacing and keep replacing and keep replacing because your in-house staff doesn't treat people the way that they should, right? And so how can we come in and elevate your staff as well?
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, so that's one thing that we're implementing. And then just different lines of business. Obviously, we have your typical temporary, temp to hire, seasonal, direct hire. But one thing we just rolled out is kind of a recruitment process outsourcing. So instead of us doing the temp or temp to hire route, let us kind of come in and be your recruitment department. And so basically, you're just outsourcing your recruitment efforts. But those people are never on our payroll. They're on your payroll. So I'm just recruiting for you, and I'm going to help you onboard them, but they will always be your employee. They'll never be mine. So that's another thing that we're rolling out.
That's different.
Yeah. And much so different. I think for us, we got to think outside the box. We do different things, and there's a lot of people that do the recruitment outsource, but I don't know anyone here that's doing it. And so for us to kind of be rolling things out and thinking about that stuff, I think it's just a value add.
Yeah. Because you always want to add more value to your clients in any situation, because then they'll feel more taken care of and they'll end up coming back more and more and more.
Yeah, and then on the candidate side, one thing that we're doing, because that's just as important, right? So a client to us is a business. I think a lot of people don't understand that. So a client to us is a business. So like Whitecap right over here, right? Like that would be our client. The employees that we send there would be our candidates. And so on the candidate side, what we want to do is do like literally 30 to 60 second like tidbits of how to resolve conflict in the workplace. Again, how to write an email, how to stand out for those next promotions, right? So have like a bank of like 30 to 60 second videos that all of our employees will have access to now as well. And they can just go in and watch at their own time. This is like just a bank of like just development, resources that it's quick little videos. And you can watch it on your lunch, like if you're having conflict with somebody, you go to that one and say, how do I resolve this conflict? It could be a 60-second video that's going to give you like 3 tips on the best way to approach that situation.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's like, that's another thing that I don't see anyone else doing. And so like there's a lot, I think, that actually sets us apart. Because we're focused on our clients and our candidates.
And it seems like you guys are really focused on the value added to those people, whether it's candidates or your clients.
Yeah. I would say we're focused on that because, man, all this shit costs money, right? So
it sure does.
We preach that, and we feel like we have to have all these things because we're not the cheapest in town. We're not the most expensive in town. But we also know that we can't lowball our prices, right? We can't devalue what we bring. Not to mention, I got to pay all this employment. I got to pay wages. I got to pay taxes. I have to pay all of that, right? But I have to pay that on my in-house staff, and I have to pay that on the temps, right? So I have to be able to charge you a very decent rate And so what else am I adding that other agencies aren't to why that rate makes sense? And that's kind of where all this is coming from.
Yeah, I like that. How long did that whole system kind of come together? Is that like something in the last 5 years?
Oh man, it's actually something in the last 12 months that we kind of...
Oh, it's brand new.
Yeah, we're throwing around.
Okay.
Something that we've actually are really just rolling out. But I think something that's always going to continue to be developed. Right. And so, when it goes to the candidate training bank is like, we're always going to be adding things in there. There may be something in there and a situation happened and we're like, man, let's do a video on this, right? And so I think it's just always going to be developing. And as far as the client success program, every client wants something different, right? And so how can we make it as generalized as possible, but also customize that? So I think always the customization is going to come. We get a new client and they're like, oh, well, I have this issue. What about this? And we're like, oh man, like how can we build something that helps that? Because we're going to probably run into another client in that industry that might run into the same thing. And so I think they're always going to be developing. But yeah, we're kind of rolling them out. And the client success program we rolled out, 6 or 7 months ago.
Okay. How's that been going?
Good. Yeah,
a lot of good feedback.
Yeah. I think too, it takes a while for people to understand like what things are, and so when you roll something out in an industry that it's not like nothing like this has ever been rolled out, it's kind of slow for people to understand and grasp the concept of it. But when they do, they're like, man, this is cool. And so, because you think about staffing, and again, you just think about typical staffing, like, oh, you don't just send me people. Like, no, we don't just send you people, So, like, that's the mentality.
Is that how it was before?
Oh, yeah.
Because they will just send anybody,
Oh, yeah.
And then they'll end up with a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah. And that's
bad experience.
Totally.
For both.
I mean, you hit it, right? Because there's so many people that look at our industry and they have like such a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
Where it actually could be a huge value. We know more about people than most people do because that we deal with it every single day.
Makes sense.
Anybody in the industry will tell you my product is people, right? Like I don't have a car I sell. I don't sell cameras. Like I don't sell that stuff. I don't sell something that could just break and then you replace, right? So it's hard because people are so unpredictable. Right. I can't control them.
Oh, yeah.
I can't, there's not an on and off button. So our product is really difficult and our industry is really difficult. And it has always been like, oh, they're just going to send me a body. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll just find someone else. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be that way because it actually costs the staffing agency a lot of money to do that. And so when we have a ton of turnover, it's no different than a normal company having turnover, right? So we now still have to re-recruit, re-onboard, re-vet, like everything. Background, drug screen, physical if it's required, even though I just did that with somebody that started a week ago. So it actually costs a lot of money to do it. And so we don't want the turnover. And so, but we do battle the, you're a staffing agency, we don't want to use that because the quality's never been there.
Right.
And it's like, well, what did the other firm do to learn your business, to get to know your supervisors, to be on site? Did they do a tour? Do they even know what you do, right? Do they even know what industry you're in? And so I think it's just super, super important for us to have that really close and honest, transparent, open communication with our clients. So one thing we do as well is every year we go out to our client's facility and we do a tour. And it could be every 6 months, right? We're getting back out there. We're getting our recruiters out there to get a refresh of the facility because they're the ones recruiting, right? And so it's just continuing that and truly, truly getting to know your business because that's the best way to recruit for people.
Because then you know what person to send to that company. Because then you're like, oh, I know exactly where to send you.
Yep.
So then it's like almost you guys educate yourselves and your employees to look for potential people to send to your clients, right? At least that's kind of how I'm understanding.
Yeah, but I think you have to go deeper than that, right? Because this supervisor is different than this supervisor, who's different than this supervisor, and they all want different personalities, right? So it's like, how do we really, really get to know that? And I think that's where that comes in, is that we need to know your hiring managers, like the people that are going to manage, that's who we need to know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it is about culture too, right? Are we matching the right people with the right people?
Yes. Can this person work with so-and-so?
Correct.
Because so-and-so doesn't like this kind of person, so we can't send him
Correct.
Jill.
Yeah. So
It's like a people puzzle.
Oh, totally. But I mean, different personalities, right? They clash.
Exactly.
So I was like, you don't want to send somebody that they're not going to mesh well with.
Yeah.
And so we want to get to know you on that level, because then it mitigates risk for all of us, honestly.
Oh, yeah. It vets everything. It's almost like another vetting tool.
Correct.
To not waste money, like you said. You're trying to find someone else is going to cost you more money, which you obviously don't want. So if you can find the right person the first time, it saves you and the client money and time.
Yep.
Works out better.
Yeah, I like that. That's very different, definitely unique in the way you think of the business.
Yeah.
As far as like reverse engineering what are other people doing that we can do here.
Yeah.
And as far as your business when you were growing it, what was a big pivotal point where you're like, whoo, this is amazing?
Oh man, have I hit it yet? No. I'm just kidding. Man, that's tough, because you have such highs and then you have such lows.
Oh yeah,
roller coaster.
Yeah, I was just actually talking to my sister last week, and I was like, man, like Wednesday was just like, damn, like we're doing it, this is great, and then Thursday I just like punched in the gut. I was just like, so it's hard to like give it a pivotal point. I will say, when I got the most confident in my business and who I am and what I can offer, I actually fired my largest client. And it was really hard because it was a big client for us. It was about $3 million a year. But they're actually hurting us in the long run just because of reputation, right? Injuries, things like that. So it actually costs us more money than it's going to make than it would make us. But one, being able to land a large client, being such a young company, and two, having the confidence to be like, hey, this isn't working out for us. I think it was such a big thing for me because I was just like, dang, like I'm such a small fish, but I just made that decision, right? Like I just went in there and was like, this is not the right thing for my business, and this is the direction I want to go and not this direction. And that's really when things started kind of changing for us, right? And so I really put a vision on the business. I really, I knew who we wanted to be and what we wanted to be. And I knew that client wasn't going to get us there. And so, yeah, it was March of 2023, actually. I was like, we're done. Yeah. And then it was just crazy, right? Like, it freed up a lot of time. It freed up a lot of stress. It freed up a lot of anxiety. And that year, I mean, we got our processes, SOPs, like we really sat down and nailed things down. And then this last year, we grew by 52%.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so it's crazy how much one thing can hold you back so much.
Yeah.
And I would say, as of now, that was probably our biggest pivotal moment to be able to take off.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, made space for all the good stuff.
Yeah.
That came in after.
Yeah.
And how do you do like your marketing? Is it word of mouth? Like customers will send people over, like other businesses, or?
Yeah, so we get referrals. But we also, we're out door to door, right? Like we're knocking on doors. We come to Landco and we literally, hey, we're so-and-so. This is what we do. We love your business. Cold calling, networking, events, things like that. So sponsoring golf tournaments.
Everywhere.
So yeah, we are literally everywhere. Right. And I think that's been really big for us. And, but we market LinkedIn, we post who we are. I just did a LinkedIn post today. But I think it's just being out there, being in front of the community, knowing in your region what's important to the community. And obviously for us, like Bakersfield's huge community involvement, right? Like how do you get involved? And so I'm on a few boards, so just helping out that way, right? So the Wounded Heroes Fund, I'm on the board for the local SHRM chapter, which is the HR community. Power Hub, right? So which is local small business. And so I think just getting out there and just constantly talking about who you are and why you are and where you're going and how you can help people. And but I would say just getting out there has been our biggest thing. I mean, we've hit probably every networking event that's in this town, right? So being members of like the chamber, the Hispanic chamber. So I think just that's been our best and biggest value add right there.
Oh, that's nice.
Network.
Yeah. It's always the networking that kind of, especially if showing face, being familiar, because I find if you show your face, more people are more willing to work with you because they talk to you outside of just work or business. It's like, oh, what are you doing later? Or getting to really know that person outside of business.
Yeah, I mean, well, we have to, right? Because from a sales perspective, it's at least 7 to 10 just touches, like just, hey, I'm so-and-so, hey, I'm so-and-so, hey, I'm so-and-so, right? So it's at least 7 to 10 times before they even remember who you are. And so we have to be present. We have to be out there. Like we can never take our foot off the gas or we're going to be left behind. And so as much as it is a lot of work, right? I mean, I'm 24/7. Some of my staff is constantly on, right? We're constantly talking about who key staffing is. And so it's just, you can never let up. Like marketing is a daily thing.
Yeah, because if they don't know you, they don't know you. Yeah,
no, that's like that's like the best statement you said today. Like they don't know you, they don't know you, right? It's like, and how do they do business with you if they don't know you?
Yeah, exactly. Because they don't know.
Yeah, I look at how I buy things, and I look at reviews, right? Like
same.
And so, like for us, reviews are important.
Yeah.
And so we push Google reviews and things like that, and so it's important for us to do the same. It's like, so how I buy is I assume how people buy, and so we have to make sure that we're putting that presence out there,
which is smart. And then, as you mentioned earlier, you have your vision, obviously, for your business. How do you relate that vision that you have to your employees, as far as like this is the vision, and kind of help them visualize what you're seeing for the business? Yeah.
So my vision is to just keep 10xing this company. So I talk about it every single day. Literally, we talk about it every single day. It's not an option to not have a morning meeting. It's not an option for my people to not develop. So one thing that we do is I actually pay my staff to read books. And so right now we're reading The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
Right. So if that's my vision, that has to be their vision. Right. And so I think just constantly pretty much drilling it, right, is like, hey, we're going to 10X it. And guess what? With this kind of activity, it's not going to 10X it. So this is the activity that I need. And just holding that to the ground, right? But they have to see me doing it.
Right.
You know, and so I'm out
example.
there. Yeah, I'm out there and I'm grinding, I'm shaking hands, I'm answering the phone sometimes at the office, you know. It's like, I think for me too is I'm never beneath anything, you know. It's like if I got to sit and be the receptionist for an hour, I got to sit and be the receptionist for an hour. Is it ideal? Is that what I want to be doing? No. But I'm going to jump in there, right? Because that's what's needed for the business. And so I think for us is we're just constantly talking about it. And it's just not an option. I mean, we come in every day and it's, hey guys, welcome to work. Welcome to Money Monday, right? Like who's bringing it in today? Like this is what we're doing, you know? So it's just a constant thing for us.
It's a culture.
We have a group chat that's like, who's winning today? Like who's going to give me their first win, right? So.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, I think it's just pushing them like that, you know?
Yeah.
And to your point, like leading by example. So if I'm not sharing my wins with them, they're not going to share their wins with me, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the biggest change is, and one thing that we do is we invest in their development. So, I mean, I'm not kidding. I pay them an hour a day to read a book.
You can pay me an hour a day to read a book.
Yeah, see? But most companies would expect you to do that on your own time.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like...
And most most employees won't do it.
Exactly. And they don't, right? You could say like, hey guys, we're going to read this book and I want you to bring me your notes. They're not going to do it, but when I tell them, you're going to block out time, I'm going to pay you an hour, and I want you to bring me your notes, like what you've learned from that they're going to do it, because now I'm also investing in them, right? It's not me expecting them to invest in me and my business on their own time, right? Because people got kids, they got things to do. Got life. Yeah. And so I'm like, well, we'll just do it like this. But it's required. I mean, they sign a policy.
Oh, that's smart though.
You have to read, and you gotta do some sort of training, right? And we break it up, right? Because it's not everyone we can't just shut down for an hour and everyone's reading a book, right? Yeah. And so we have to like break that up. But I've got 2 people on the 10X rule. When they're done, the next 2 people, that, so it just, I think we talk about it, we do it.
Yeah, I like that. Very unique leadership. A lot different
for sure.
Yeah, because you seem to think a lot more outside the box than your average CEO or founder of a company.
Yeah.
Have you always had that kind of puzzle solving, or is that something you developed through all the conferences and self growth you've done?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I'm better today than I was a year ago, 5 years ago. But I think that's part of why I've always been able to move up and why people like working for me. Because I've got that from, when I became a lead, it's like people liked working for me. And so, but I try to push people. I try to lead them. I try to, hey, this isn't working, then this might work, right? Like, let's try this, but let's try this together. Let's make sure this works together. And so, I always get that my ability to inspire people is something that I've always been told. Like, it's you have this way of pretty much telling somebody. It's funny. I'm always told you have this way of telling people that they're not doing great, but when they leave, they're like excited about it, right? So it's just like
it's a gift.
Yeah, and not everyone can do that.
No, it's hard.
And so, but I think for me is, I go back to the times that I had bad management, I had bad bosses, right? Because why do most people start businesses? Because they had a terrible boss. They're like, screw this. I want to be my own boss. I don't want to listen to anybody, And so I take what I don't want to do, and I never do that. I never treat people that way. Now I hold people accountable, right? But I think there's a way to do that. And to the point of like, I bring them in, and when they walk out, they feel better because now they're inspired to continue to go grow and perform and produce. Whereas there's a lot of sucky bosses out there.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not perfect by any means. But I just try to treat people how I always wanted to be treated.
Which is a good rule of thumb always.
Yeah.
Because then that's the whole karma thing. Just treat people good. And
totally. I mean, we learn that when we're 5, right? It's like,
exactly.
Treat people how you want to be treated. It's just crazy how we forget.
Many people forget.
Totally.
So whenever you get clients, is there things they don't realize about the hiring process that you guys kind of take away for them?
Oh, man.
Because I'm sure a lot of them don't realize, especially if they're always using like temps, they don't understand the whole process of the hiring.
Yeah. So I would say just about every client doesn't understand. And it's our job to educate them. But you do have some clients that are like, why do I need to know if you're the one doing it? But it actually is really important for them to know. Because then, I'm sure I'll have clients listen, but at that point, you would appreciate our processes a lot better, right? So, and it would actually be smoother for you in the long run if you took the 10 minutes that it would take for you to understand what this actually takes, right? So what actually goes into this? Because I always tell people, like, I'm not an expert in oil changes, right? So I'm going to go have somebody change my oil. You're not an expert in recruitment. Trust me. Right? Like, it's you, if you don't do this day in and day out and you hire somebody every 6 months, you are not an expert in recruitment. You're not even probably an expert in people. Right? So it just, they need to understand the process so they respect our process a little bit more. And to your point earlier of like people have a bad taste in their mouth of the staffing industry, clients and companies don't take accountability in sort of being the problem too, right? So, and I'm not saying that they're all the problem, but I think that they need to take the time to understand the processes and why we need from them what we need, instead of just saying, well, I need a production supervisor. You should know what that means. Well, no, I do know what that means, but it doesn't mean I know what that means for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, different.
Yeah. And so that's why I'm asking these questions. That's why I want you to understand our process. That's why for us, when we bring in, like our salespeople bring in a new order, it's a requirement for our recruiters to call that client to do what we call is qualify that call. Because we're going to get a job description, which is pretty general, right? That's not specific to your culture. That's not specific to your facility, right? And so I can recruit a production supervisor all day. I got probably hundreds in our database, right? But that doesn't mean I'm going to send you the right ones for your culture, for your industry, right? And for your personality. And so I just think that if they would take a little bit more time to understand that whole process, that we'd actually all be more successful. And then there wouldn't be such this like bad look on the staffing industry because, well, they're not sending me people that qualify or that I want. And it's like, well, you didn't take the 15 minutes with our recruiter to sit down and really explain what you want, right? And then allow us to say, okay, now this is the process and this is the commitment that I need from you, right? Because if I send you somebody and you don't give me feedback in a week, that somebody's already gone.
Yeah.
Right? And so Mr. Client, this is what you need from me, but this is what I need from you, right? So our success is very dependent on this relationship. And I think that's where they kind of think like, oh, well, you should just be able to do it. So if you can't do it, I'll move on to the next. And it's like, well, you're going to have the same issues with the next.
Yeah. Well, that makes more sense why people have bad taste.
Totally.
Because they're not taking the time, like, I need this type of person. You just say, send me whoever.
Yeah.
But then,
and it's very different, right? Like, I should be able to go somewhere and be like, I need an oil change. This is my type of car. Tell me what kind of oil I need, right?
Yep.
I should be able to do that. But again, people are different. Mm-hmm. So people are not a product, a microphone, right?
Yeah,
people aren't that. So every single person works differently. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we need more commitment even from the client, right? Because two, you always get, well, I'm paying you to do something. Yeah, you are. But guess what? I need to know how to do that thing right the first time. Mm-hmm. Because then you're not going to want to pay me. You're not going to want to come back. Yeah. And that's what we want is also the recurring business, right? We want the new business and we want the recurring business. Mm-hmm. But the relationship has to start right from the beginning.
And how do you guys kind of initiate that relationship? Do you guys kind of have like, hey, let's sit down here, let's talk. And then if they're not willing to talk, do you guys say we're not a good fit?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and again, it depends on the level of the position, right? So, a forklift operator is going to be much different than a production supervisor or a manager or an HR or anything like that, right? But there's also different types of forklifts. Do you require certification? Do you not? What shift is this going to be on? So there's a lot of things too that you still need to know. But if a client's not responsive and a client's not willing to listen to kind of our process as well, then we won't work with that client. And we've walked away from business. Actually just had someone come in and say, hey, I've got some orders, but these are going to be really hard. And I was like, okay, tell me why. Well, this hiring manager, she just doesn't seem like a great person. I'm like, do you want to work for her? And they're like, no. And I was like, then I don't want to find people to work for her. Right? Why would I want to find people to go try to work for her? And then she wants, you want all these terms on the contract. And it's like, no, that doesn't work for us. And so it just, you have to be willing to say no and understand that not every client is the right client for you. But I don't want to work on a client's orders when you're already telling me, one, it's going to be difficult, and two, she's a terrible leader, right? So it's like, okay, so who's going to want to stay? Nobody's going to want to stay there. Then we're going to, again, spend more money on recruitment. It's going to be a whole different process. And so it's difficult to say yes to every client. It's also difficult to say no. But the time we're going to put in that really, really hard client can be spent elsewhere. That's actually going to breed results and reoccurring business and a good relationship and a long-term partner. And so, yeah, I mean, we do. Unfortunately, we have to say no, and that we're not the best fit, because we want to make sure that also the employees where we're sending them, like if it's somebody I wouldn't work for, why do we want to send employees there?
Yeah, exactly. You know? So what's been one of the biggest lessons you've learned since your beginning of your entrepreneur journey?
Oh, man. I think for me right now, I go back to the mind, right? Is like how important it is to take care of that. And so I actually didn't start taking it seriously till about 18 months ago.
Okay, so you more recently.
Yeah.
Did you meet Anna first, or kind of get you thinking, or what kind of made you start thinking mindset?
Yeah, I met her probably about that long ago, maybe 2 years or so. But I started just watching every business owner that is where I want to be. Mm-hmm. I just started watching them. Mm. And so many of them talk about the people that work for you and your mind.
Mm-hmm.
For
always the
those
mind.
to be like the two most important things. And so actually in 2023 as well, I pretty much overhauled my entire team. Mm. And so I was like, the people that got me to this point, I don't think are going to get me to the next point. And so I did. I got rid of a lot of people, people that started with me.
Yeah.
And it was really hard. It was really, really hard.
I bet.
But I just knew in my gut that was the right decision. So I would say my biggest lessons are how important people are and how important it is to stay in that mind of like growth and business and positivity and manifesting. And I have to, it's a job. It's like a full-time job staying there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so I would say those are probably my two biggest lessons.
Oh, nice. Yeah, especially the mind. Yeah, because the mind can play tricks on you. It can have the self-doubt. It can
totally
say this to you. It can say that. It can be like, so-and-so said this about you. And then your mind's like, oh, well, maybe they're right. And then you start going down. But if you have that strong mindset, you can block all the negativity and kind of like, block, and then just keep pushing.
Yeah. Self-doubt is real. I just went through it again last week.
Many people go through it, and it's just like, I always find if you start thinking of like self-doubt, just look at what you've done in the past and like, this ain't that bad.
Yeah.
And then just keep pushing.
Totally.
Because most of the time it's just a facade, or it's just our mind just playing tricks on us and just saying, hey.
Yep.
But it's that subconscious that's always there that you always have to just suppress back down.
I think too is like having the right support system, you know, because you can have people around you, and if they don't believe in you, then you're not going to feel like anybody believes in you, right? So it's like, how do you believe in yourself?
It's a lot harder.
So even last week, I'm like texting my husband, and I'm like, I don't think I can do this shit anymore, you know? And he's like, yes, you can. He's like, you got this. Like, you know, you're having a tough day, and he's right? Like you have a moment of weakness where you're like, want to throw your hands up, and you know, but then 5 minutes later, you're like, man, why are you talking like that? You know, because you got this. And so it's just having, I think, too, the right people around you. And it's been such a game changer for me.
Oh, yeah. And how many people work for you?
So in-house, I have 8 people that work for me. And then at any given time, we have, 200 to 300 temps out working.
Nice.
Oh, nice. And then before you started the Key Staffing business, did you ever see yourself as an entrepreneur, business owner?
Not really. I always saw myself like climbing the corporate ladder and, because I did that. So every job I had, right, it's like I started and 6 months later I'm being promoted and then promoted and then promoted. And so I really actually where I was at before, the first agency I worked at, my boss had come to me and was like, hey, like, what's your future here? And key staffing was not even a thought at that point, right? And I was like, well, just so you know, I'm going to be president of this company one day. And she was like, what the? I was like, no, I'm being dead serious. Like, I will run this entire company one day. So I've always had that kind of mindset. I've always had, like, nobody can stop me. I'm gonna be the best at what I do. But no, not until my dad was like, hey, you should do your own thing. And I was like, no, I'm good, but you get comfortable where you're at, you're like, hey man, I got it easy. Like I work a lot, of course, but like I got a promotion 8 months in, I got another promotion, another 8 months in, you know what I mean? Like I'm going, I'm taking over this place, Yeah.
Cause you see the roadmap to the top.
Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't I spoke about the bad bosses, right? And I was just like, like I can't. It got to a point where I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'll just do my own thing. And I did.
Pretty much pushed you to do it.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get started? Because obviously you never ran a business before, so figuring things out.
Yeah. So it took us about probably 30 days to really get the business like up and going, up and running. But after that, actually COVID hit. And so, yeah, the whole freaking world shut down, So I was like, oh my God, what did I just do?
A different roller coaster.
Oh yeah. Cause I'm like, man, I just left this cake job, like making a lot of money, I'm just like, oh my God, what did I just do to my family? Like, how am I going to make it? Am I going to have to go back out and find a job? Like, but I was like, nope. Like, we're going to push through. Like, we got this, we got this. And so we did. And actually about June of 2020, man, we just took off.
Nice.
And so our first year we did $1 million in revenue. Our second year we did 3.8. Our third year we did 10.4.
Wow.
Our fourth year, that's why I told you guys I let go of that client. We did 6.4. And then last year we did just under 10.
Nice.
And so
growing.
Yeah, I mean, we're growing, right? Like we're going places.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, it was rough because I mean we opened right before COVID.
Yeah, that's you're like, what the heck did I do?
I was like, wait a second. First of all, I never thought I would live through a pandemic.
You're like this. You're like pinching yourself. Like, is this real?
And then I'm like, second of all, what does this mean? The world's shut down. Like, what do you mean? We just don't do anything.
Heard of that,
yeah. So you know what I did for 2 weeks? I binged Suits, the show Suits, and I was like, I needed this because it's like so inspiring. I'm like, man, this guy's badass. Like, I'm gonna be just like this guy,
Oh yeah, strategic, freaking.
Totally.
Boom, boom, business meetings. Yeah, that's a good show.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, but I binged the whole thing.
Yeah, because that one came out like a while ago, like 10 years ago, right?
Oh yeah,
10,
it's
15.
old. Oh yeah.
So as far as growing in your business, besides the book part, like having your employees read that, do you have any other kind of growth that do you have them do, or?
Yeah, so one thing we do with our employees is their personal, professional, financial goals. And that's within the business and outside of the business, right? So we really do care about our employees, although we may be small. We're building this and acting like we're a large corporation, right? Because we will be one day. So my goal is in the next, 5 to 10 years to be $100 million company.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
And so we have to act like that. And so we do biweekly one-on-ones, but we put that onto our team members. Like that's accountability. So we're here. We're willing to help you on your development. But you have to take some accountability with that too, right? So I'm not going to force you to grow, but if you don't, then you won't be here.
Yeah, you're not part of the team.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't have this same vision, you don't have goals outside of work. How do I take your goals at work seriously?
Right.
Right. So We know our team members, you know, I have one team member that at the beginning of the year, she wasn't working out. She's working out 4 days a week now.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? So it's like we try to get involved in that. And of course, you know, sometimes people bring donuts to the office, but it's like we try to hold people accountable to that too, right? Like somebody wants to be healthy, that's on their personal goals. You remind them, like, do you really need to be eating that donut? So I think that's one thing too that kind of sets us apart is that the biweekly one-on-one's a requirement, and it's not just about work. Right? It's about what you want to do personally. Do you want to take your family on a trip to Italy, right? Like, how can we get you there? Do you want to make a certain amount of money this year? Okay, well, let's reverse engineer it. And to make that much money, these are the things you have to do, right? And so we've put a lot of time into that. But that's where, too, like, we invest in our leadership to go to seminars, go to conferences, go and, like, learn these things because we can come back and implement that stuff. Because I don't think any other agency in town is doing your personal, professional, financial goals. I don't know that they care about that.
They just want to hire, boom, boom, boom.
Right. And so, and I do care about that. And I want my team to feel like we care about that. So that's one thing that we do. Another thing though is we'll do like quick little trainings, right? So whether it's during or after the one-on-one, or I mean, just the other day, I pulled my salesperson and I was like, hey, 30 minutes, we're going to role play a meeting right now, right? And it's like, oh shit, you know, like first of all, I'm putting you on the spot, you know, and second of all, I'm taking 45 minutes out of my day, right, to continue to train and develop these people, because if I don't and they stay, the standard is just continuing to trickle down because I have to remind them what the standard is, and it's not because they don't care, right? But they have so many other things going on that it's my job to remind them. This is who we are. This is the level that we're going to be at. Everyone else is here, and we're going to be here, right? And so I have to continue to give that to them. And that's where, like, the quick little trainings come in, you know, or, hey, you know, write up this type of email. I'm gonna dissect it, and I'm going to give you feedback, right? So it's just little things, I think, that go such a long way.
Yeah, because that can make a big difference in someone as an employee because they're like, oh, that one training we did, I remember that. Let me go look back on those notes. Because when I was a CPA, that's what I would literally do. I would look over the notes. I'm like, they talked about this, and I'd go through and I'd find the email template. I'm like, okay, there it is. Yep. So all those little things actually do help a lot.
They work.
Yeah, because I would, every time, like as a CPA, we'd have trainings, I'd always have the notes, the new laws, the sticky notes with everything I needed to remember. So they changed the law this, it's implemented here. And then I'm sure with staffing, it's probably even worse because California is changing the laws like monthly.
Yeah.
It seems like.
No, they really are.
It seems like every month there's a new law coming out.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, what the heck?
That's one thing too is that, so I'm on the board for the local SHRM chapter. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's basically a whole HR community.
Oh, okay.
Well, every month we put on a luncheon, and it's training, right? So it could be how to properly do an investigation. It could be legal updates, right? California legal updates.
Oh, nice.
Could be your workplace violence stuff, right? So, and I send my team to that. So it's either every week, every month, like they're getting something. You know what I mean? Because if I don't train them properly, they're going to make mistakes, and it's only going to hurt me.
Yeah.
So I can either spend those couple hours that it takes to train them, or I can have a $50,000 issue, right? So it's just which is cheaper, you know? Exactly. Sure. And but the problem is you have a lot of companies that don't think like that. You know, and
you're right.
And it gets them in trouble, you know, and then it gets us in trouble because really, in reality, when we send somebody to a client's site, we become a co-employer at that point. My risk is your risk, and your risk is my risk, right? So just because these people are my employees and they're on my payroll, it doesn't mean that I've just taken every risk away from you. And I think so many staffing agencies go out and they pitch that, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? That's not actually true. Yes, I'm going to pay their payroll. I'm going to pay their taxes. I'm going to pay their workers' comp. But if something happens out here and this employee decides to go seek legal counsel, they're coming after both of us. Right? So we have to have a better relationship. We have to have a really, really good client to agency partnership because the risk is the same. It doesn't matter. Right? Or you have an agency that's not paying taxes guess what? They close down, the IRS is coming after you for those taxes. They're going to get paid either way. You know what I mean? Because you do have agencies that just do shady stuff like that. And so it's such an important relationship. And I think so many companies out there aren't educated enough to understand that they need to care about that. And so it just, for us, I mean, we constantly train. We're constantly trying to educate our employees on how to educate clients.
Yeah, I like that. It's definitely a different point of view as far as leadership, as far as many of the individuals I've talked to just outside of just life in general. Seems like you are very much making sure you're covering all your dots and I's and P's and Q's with training your employees, taking that extra step, taking that extra length, making sure the processes are followed, everything's in line, the systems, which is very unique as far as like a staffing company, because I'm sure I've never heard of a staffing company doing stuff like that.
Yeah,
I've always heard of all the boom, boom, here, employee here, boom.
Yeah, yeah. And that's pretty much what it is. It's transactional.
Right.
Yeah, they're like, here, we need one. Here we go.
Yep, here's one, I'll throw it to you.
Hopefully
you know
that
what I mean?
one sticks.
Yeah, exactly. It's like throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
But one thing, too, is I have 2 people on my staff going through full HR certifications right now. And I'm paying for that. I paid for the whole course, right? It's like a 2-semester course. I paid that. $1,600 a piece.
Wow.
Right? So it's like...
You're investing in...
Yeah. I need them to be educated.
Right.
You know, because I can either, again, pay the $1,600 for them to get educated and bring that stuff back to the company, or I could pay $16,000 times 10 because I just had all these lawsuits.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a real thing too, right? It's like agencies don't talk about that enough. But guess what? We have employees, and these employees, every employee wants to sue.
Yeah.
You know, you go through that, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's there's not one agency out there that hasn't been through something like that.
Oh, okay. So would you say one of your biggest investments is in your actual employees?
Totally.
And that's what you would probably say is what's helping scale the part of the business, is having those people well trained.
Yeah.
So then everything's in place.
Yeah, because it doesn't keep me in that kind of stuff too, right?
Kinda
and so
lets
for me, I should be the visionary. I should be out there. I should be with the community. I should be growing. I should be selling. So it doesn't keep me in the weeds like that to have to do the HR investigation, right? Like that's going to pull me from
the more
everything else I could be doing, right? And to now do an HR investigation. And so it allows us, one, to be fully compliant, have the training, and then also for me to be out doing what I need to do.
I like that. That's very smart. So you're essentially trying to set it up so eventually you can just leave, huh?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but...
Why could the company will be able to run without you?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, I mean, it should, right? Like I haven't built a company if it can't run without me, right? Can my company today run without me? Probably not, right? But am I doing the things to make that happen? Absolutely. Because guess what? I work hard. You know, I'm a 24/7. So do I want to be able to take off for 2 weeks and take my family to Italy or Cabo or whatever, right? Like, yeah, I do. Can I do that right now? No, I can't.
It's just sacrifice.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that to a certain point. You know, I don't want to be like this forever.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm willing to sacrifice, you know, what I take home or where I get to go or the things I get to buy or, you know what I mean? I'm willing to sacrifice that for now because it's going to be an abundance to me one day because now I can trust everybody I have in-house to do the job, right? Whereas right now there's still things that's like
building.
Call Jackie, call Jackie, call Jackie, call Jackie, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And then you mentioned you're working with Anna. Mm-hmm. How has it been working with her, like as far as your business and life since her coaching you?
Well, first of all, she's not paying me for this, but she's amazing. Honestly, I was actually just telling her this the other day. I said, from where I was 3 months ago to where I am now, even I can see the change, right? And I think it's so much harder for you to see the change yourself. Mm-hmm. Like people see it before you really see it. And like I can see it. So I just got, like I told you guys, punched in the gut last Thursday, right? Well, most of the time I would be like, I'm out. I'm going to go drink. I'm going to go, like, I need a glass of wine, like something, right? But I was just like, I can't do that, you know? And so just that right there, I think, has shown me like how much growth I have. Because normally I would have been like, guys, I'm out. I'm gonna, I'm going out. I won't. I'll see you on Monday, right? And I would have done that 3 years ago, and 2 years ago maybe. But I don't, and that's such a small example.